Hello, Pete. It's 10 a.m. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I will record this live chat and load it in my Podbean account so that you can download and listen without having to see my face. Anyhow, hello to Jeffrey, Good as Gold, Scott Farr, and Jesse Sweet. 5 people. No biggie. Um, it's 10 a.m. It is Thursday, and we are. Let me take a look at the market. The stock market has had a meltdown all week. For those that has not paid attention to the stock market, we are down roughly 10% across the board on all indices, regardless if it's the Nasdaq or the S&P or the Dow Jones. All the indices are down, some even more. If you look at the chip index, the transport, you name it. Yes. The last time I had the chat was, when was this? The last time I had a chat was 10 days ago, 10 or 11. Yeah. And for those that tune in to that chat or listen to that chat, I talk about how the virus can cause a disruption in the world economy, right? Well, now that we are 10, 11 days after the facts, it is a full-blown issue, okay? The stock market did not go through what it has been going through the past week if the news was good. Sadly, the news has been bad. They have not contained the virus, seem like they have been unable to contain the virus. Every day we tune on to the news and we see more people, more countries have been infected. So yes, we have a full-blown, I, I'm not sure if they have declared global pandemic or some kind of fancy big word to scare people yet. Regardless, the question is, how badly is it going to impact the global economy now? Okay, it's not is it going to, it's not what if, it is. Okay, it is. Companies after companies this week, from Apple to who knows what, has announced that they are not going to be able to make their estimate projection on sales and all that stuff because of all the disruption in the supplies, in the production, in the demands. Hey, if the second biggest economy is in big trouble, it's going to infect all of us. Okay, for a long time, for those that follow the stock market, if the US market catch a cold, the whole world catch the cold. It's infected and will impact global economy. But now, 20 years ago, the China market is not the same. It didn't exist as far as how big it is compared to what it is today, 20 years later. So now the Chinese market, it caught the flu, and we all going to catch the flu along with China. So, but let's move along to the comic book market. Now, I make a lot of analogy between the comic book market and the stock market over the past many years. I have made all kind of analogy. One of the thing that I talked about early this year and last year was that the stock market was booming. For those that did not follow the stock market, as bad as this market has been this week, okay, we're down 10% literally in a week. We broke record high barely a week ago. Prior to this big slide that we see, Apple was hitting the all-time high. Amazon stock was hitting the all-time high. Many stocks, especially the technology stock, whether it's Google or Facebook or Apple or Amazon or many chip stock like Intel, you name it, was hitting all-time high, all cylinder was churning. And guess what? The comic book market was suffering for a long time, a whole year, all of 2019. Okay, we don't need to talk about how bad the market is, right? As far as the comic book market. So there was, I talk about this, a disconnect between what the stock market was doing. Hello, triple double X. There was a disconnect between what the stock market was doing. Okay, it was breaking all-time high, running 20% plus in 2019, and the comic market heading the opposite way. The stock market was going 20% higher. Many big comic book keys were going 20% lower or more. So it's a huge disconnect between what happened in the stock market last year and the comic book market last year. Now that we have this big, 10% correction, and to be honest, I don't think we are done going down. Okay, I don't think we are done going down. Hello, Joseph Johnson. Some people have asked me whether COVID-19 is going to hurt the comic book market. My straight answer is yes and no. I'm sure most people hate that kind of answer. Yes and no. Pick one. Well, let me explain. The raging strong bull market of 2019 in the stock market did not prevent the comic market to have big problems, right? So you can't blame the stock market for the weak current market right now or so far, okay? Because if the strong stock market did not help the comic book market last year, why is a 10% down in Apple stock is going to hurt the market now? Okay, so that's my short answer for no, it's not going to hurt the market. As far as, if the stock market dropped another 10%. For those that forgot how bad, hello, Azure Tiger. For those that followed the stock market last year or late 2018, the stock market did drop 20% in between late November of 2018 and late January of 2019. Yeah, roughly on that time frame, 20% it dropped. Okay, so it rebounded strongly from that point in late January of 2019, and it finished up big until this week. Okay, we had a big issue this week so far, and I don't think we're done going down yet, because until there is news, until there is any kind of factual news that they found an antidote or a vaccine or something that can stop this thing from spreading worse than what it has been, there's no reason to think that it will be better next week. Okay, that's the thing. The market keep hoping. Okay, the stock market ignored this issue a month ago when the virus was first announced in January, late December. The market had a hiccup, but not to this magnitude. It had a small hiccup, maybe 5% ish, and then it assumed that the problem can be contained, and then it raced to the all-time high, and now it's down 10%. It's nowhere near that level compared to a year ago. So we are not there yet. Okay, when we I told my wife this morning, I said we're about halfway there until we see really depress people. People curl up in fetal position because, oh my God, 20%, I'm down 20% in my savings account or portfolio investment or whatever it is. We are not there yet. Good morning, Scott Johnson, Thomas Churchill. So as far as how it impact the comic book market, first up, if the big run up last year in the stock market didn't help the comic book market, certainly it's hard to say that now that the stock market is down 10%, it's going to hurt the comic book market. Well, the comic book market has already been hurting all year plus. Okay, so you can't really blame the stock market. So that's my quick answer to no, the problem in the stock market has no correlation to the comic book market. COVID-19 has nothing to do with it. But here's my yes part of the answer. The economy. The stock market usually front run the economy. Okay? When it has a downturn like this, it's seeing trouble ahead for the economy. What kind of trouble? A recession. Okay? We haven't had a recession for a long time. The fear of a recession back in 2018, late 2018, led to that 20% downturn that we got. Just the fear, because the Fed was raising rate at the wrong time. Yeah, the fear. Now that we have serious and concrete evidence of slowdown, because even Apple came out and say, hey, we're not going to be able to sell as many iPhone because all of China are locked up. A recession fear is closer to reality at this moment than back in late 2018. Okay, so I'm more concerned right now compared to how I felt back in late 2018. Okay, that's my state of mind. I just want to make it clear to people. Now, if things get worse from this point, global disruption of consumption, and companies sell less stuff, we buy less stuff, and we have a recession, then it will impact many things, including comic books. Okay, this is when now I'm circle back to my original answer that can it impact the market? And I said yes and no. This is the yes part. I said this many times on my channel. Hello, MythLab Music. I said this many times on my channel in the past few years. Okay, in the past 3 or 4 years, especially when the market was booming. By market, I said the comic book market was booming, and a lot of people. I got a ton of these comments many times. I hope for it to crash. I want to buy it lower. And my common answer to those kind of comments is, it's all well said, but the sad reality is usually when there is a crash, it is because of a recession. And a recession usually coincides with a lot of job laid off. Okay, all good intention, I can't wait to buy when it crashes, usually go out the window when you get the 2-week notice or the 1-week notice or the no, don't come back tomorrow. We don't have a job for you anymore tomorrow. So bye-bye. All right. So I always cautious anyone that wish for the sky to fall, because the sad reality is when the sky fell, a lot of the people that wish for it to fall usually are not in a position anymore to benefit. Okay, that's the reality. You cannot, for most people, they can foresee, there are people out there that have good jobs, solid job that likely will not be impacted. Okay, there are, but there are also a lot of people that live check by check, that have jobs that can easily be wiped out in a recession. It's not, um, it's not something that I wish. That's why I don't wish for a crash. Okay, I never like when a stock market is in a bubble, or when the comic book market is in a bubble. I'm uneasy about it, but I don't wish for a crash, because I know with anything that crash, stock market, economy, comic book market, is pain to go around. And I'm not the kind of person that jump for joy when I see people lose their money and in pain, or lose their job or their savings. Or it's depressing. Nobody want. I might not be a cheerful guy. I might not be. I might be a grumpy old man, as some people call me already. But at the same time, I don't wish bad things on people, even people I don't like. That's not my DNA. Okay, my DNA is, if you don't like somebody, move on. Don't wish bad things on them. Karma. I'm a strong believer in that. When bad things happen to people I don't like, I don't go and rub their face in the and say that, hey, you deserve it. I don't do that. Okay, so that's why I do get annoyed often when I hear and read comments of people hoping for a crash. For those that wrote those comments on my videos from time to time over the past few years, you know what my reply has been. Don't wish for those things, because sometimes you're going to be the one with the pink slips, and you're going to be calling for mama. Bianchi, agree. Yeah, I mean, I see this all the time, and it's usually come from people that least afford to lose a job, and it's just head shaking to read, I hope for a crash to buy things for cheap. Really? I hope you have a safe job. Let's start there first. Um, Thank you everybody for agreeing with me. So yes, so for me, so go back to the question again, is that I fear COVID-19, if it get worsened from here, if this issue that we have right now is not resolved. By resolve, I mean show containment. Okay, I'm not even asking for a cure, but we need to see data in the next 2 weeks that show that the spread has been contained. We don't need to see the numbers of people infected with the disease or death keep climbing daily around the world. It's already been spread to 6 continents. Okay, we do not need this disease to enter into the least affordable place to handle this disease. Okay, there are countries out there that cannot contain this. Okay, we have all the tools and technology in the world to try to contain this, and we done as good of a job as we can do. But there are countries out there that if one person gets sick, it would be literally thousands of people within the next few days and weeks, because they are not able to, they won't be able to contain it. They're too crowded. I'm not going to name the country. I don't want to name it, but I think anyone with common sense can understand which country I'm talking about, because you can't have that many people living in such a tight space and have this disease spread so easily be contained once it get there. Good Edge Gold say, yes, the Dow is still positive over the past 12 months. Same thing with the S&P 500, same thing with the NASDAQ. Because why? Because the market went up 20+% last year. Okay, it's that simple. If the market went up 20+% last year and right now it's down 10%, it ain't negative over the past 12 months. Um, Look like my internet is acting up, so pardon me if the quality of the videos on and audio is all goofy. I just noticed that I just keep getting the warning on my screen that my connection is not very strong. I agree. Stanible's universe, he wrote, we just need to get it under control. If China had a little bit more transparency, I agree. That has been the problem from day one. We, the market will regain confidence once things are under control. We do not need to see the cure. It just need to be under control. We do not need to see increasing spread. That does not help anyone feel better. If every day we turn on and the news is like, oh, another country have another patient, another country more death, more infected people, do not need to see that. And so as far as the comic book market, what's going on with the comic book market, the downturn, that has nothing to do with the stock market, but the economy for sure. Okay, if the economy take a big hit, if this problem go on for 2, 3, 4 more weeks, okay, let me remind, we are at the end of February. Okay, the first quarter for most company is a month away. Already 2/3 of the month have been impacted by the virus. Whether you Starbucks selling coffee in China, where you have thousands of stores, and guess what? They're not open. Whether you McDonald's that have thousands of stores in China, they're not open. So there's a lot of things that have already been impacted for 2 months since Christmas. Need I say how bad things can be if this gonna go all the way through the end of March? It's gonna wipe out the first quarter for sure. Do you know what the definition of a recession is? The definition of recession is, you know, multiple, like 2 quarters or at least 3 months or longer of decline. Okay, it takes a few months. Okay, or 1 or 2 months, even 3 months decline or negative growth in the economy is not a recession. It need a couple. Okay, so the closer we get to the second quarter, by that I mean by the end of March, if this thing is not resolved by the end of March, call mama. Oh, you keep hearing my phone pinging. It's because the market, I had alert set up on, on things that, go lower, and look like the S&P 500 keep breaking the low. Oh my goodness. It's funny to sit here and see the phone. I keep getting the noise from my phone because the S&P just break through 304, 303. Yeah, I mean, if the virus get worse, would you want to go to a convention to be surrounded by 50,000 people? Not really, right? So yeah, it's a lot of issues that are going to impact many things that will hurt the hobby. If this thing is not contained, it's going to impact all kind of stuff. I mean, so I don't wish for a crash. Okay, I'm pretty content with my collection, so I'm not buying anything, and I don't plan to sell a lot of big books for many years to come, so I can weather the storm. But at the same time, it's not a pleasant situation. I am working on the February market report is right now, this week, okay, because the Comic Link auction is ending this week. I already finished the gold and silver portion of the videos. I'm waiting for the rest of the auction to finish up tomorrow or tonight or this weekend or next week. I can't remember, but I'm waiting for the rest of the auction to finish so that I can do the bronze and modern. So I'm halfway there with my February market report. So hopefully I will get it done and load the first week of March, after March 1st for sure. Okay, it won't be done until maybe, if I had to guess, the earliest would be March 3rd that I'll get that the February market report out. So I'm working on that right now, and it will be interesting. Certainly, does anybody even need to guess how the books perform in February? If you follow Comic Link, you saw the results, right? Double X is saying, I'm calling mama now. Yes, Stanley Bliss universe, I agree. On the hardest thing for people, the the way the market is so emotional that it's never a binary kind of feeling. Like when the market is up, people are elated, right? But when it comes down to like a downturn like what we have now, it is so. I watch CNBC because I like to see the sentiment. I don't like to see people freaking out, but I like to read the sentiment. Oh, another signal. Oh, yeah. If you keep hearing the phone, that means another stock that I'm watching is crashing. People keep asking me, "Are you buying anything?" I told my wife, "No, I'm not buying anything." Now is not the time to be brave, okay? There will be time to buy, but right now is not the time to be brave. I'm not that brave. How long will it last? As far as the downturn, well. If you're talking about the comic book market, I already made a video and loaded earlier today. There is no answer for that. There is no. Usually, there are signals in the stock market that tell you, when the bottom is near, as I mentioned in that video. But right now, the signals tell the signals to both the comic book market and the stock market is telling me the end is not near. There is no catalyst to stop the bleeding, whether it's the stock market or the comic book market. It's for the stock market, the bleeding will stop once we get this thing under control. Okay, I don't think, I'm sure not everybody agree with me, but I think most people will agree with me that until we get this thing contained, under control, there is no reason to think that a recession is not coming. Like I said, first quarter is already ruined. We do not need to see this go past March, because then the second quarter is at risk, and all we need is that to happen. If the second quarter is at risk as far as slowdown in economic growth, going to negative growth, then a recession is at hand. Okay, a recession is at hand, and guess what? Do you know how the stock market performed in every recession? In every recession, the stock market has went down a lot bigger than 20%. And it usually follow every recession follow with a lot of laid off, job loss, all kind of pains. It's ugly. It's messy. Good as gold as, is the stock market only reacting to COVID? Um, a big part of it, the other part that some people will throw into the mix is that politics. The election coming up. How certain candidates from the Democratic side is talking socialism and borderline communism and all that stuff, and it freaked out some people, right? But it's more so than, to me, it's more COVID-19 than the election. Sure, the election play a small part, but at the end of the day, it's the darn COVID-19. Yeah, well, Bianchi said, does anybody remember how the stock market reacted during the SARS scares of several years ago? Yeah, and sadly, COVID-19 is worse. Yes, I said it, worse than SARS. So this is a problem. Okay, and I think the market did discount this like SARS in the beginning. In the beginning, if we go back to January of this year, a lot of people was talking about SARS and how that's gonna blow over, how it's gonna be contained, how it's gonna stop in a few weeks. Well, guess what? We at the end of February, it's not contained. It's nowhere near contained, and so it's already blow past what SARS did. That's why the market is doing what it's doing. It is gonna react when it's all said and done, and we look back. We're gonna see that this impact the market much more than SARS did. And it will. And also, do not forget, when SARS happened, China was not anywhere near what it is today as far as global production of many things. Okay? China is a much bigger player in the world economy today than it was back with SARS. So I didn't care for the SARS comparison, to be honest. Back in January, when people was comparing COVID-19 to SARS and trying to dismiss it, and I'm like, the world's very different today. You know what I mean? I was hoping that we can find the cure and contain it like SARS. I was hoping, but at the same time, I'm like, it's not going to be the same. If people thought the market react certain way with SARS, well, guess what? This is going to be much worse, and so far it is rearing its ugly head to prove that it's going to be a much worse situation. Oh, Zika was small. Zika was barely anything. And when it comes down to mask and all that stuff, it's funny. One of my good friend bought a mask. He lived in New York. He bought a mask back in mid-January, and he said, you're not gonna. You might think I'm crazy, but he has friends in China. One of my friend, he has college friends, buddy that work a couple that work in China, and he's since mid-January. He told me it's a lot worse. It's a lot worse than people say it is. And he went out there and bought a mask for him and his family and his girlfriend, all that stuff. And it's funny because he emailed me a link to a mask that he bought last Friday. He sent me a link and said, Nick, go get yourself, at least one or two for your family. Buy three, he said. So I told my wife, I'm like, maybe we should get the mask. And she put 3 in the basket on Amazon Friday morning or something like that. And later that day I said, so did you order the mask? And she said no. So she went back into Amazon basket to finalize the order. Sold out, gone. Probe 186. Yes, the market is factored in and also scared that Bernie Sanders is going to be the nominee. It's I would try not to get into politics talk because that's politics is just a hot button on the internet. I can talk if I talk politics in this video for even 5 minutes. Somehow, somewhere, it's gonna spread, and people that had nothing to do with my channels, nothing about comic books, will start to pour in here and go crazy. Call me all kind of name. I I have talked about politics, I think, in one other video in my 7 years on YouTube, and boy, did I get some crazy talk on that video because people, out of nowhere, all it takes is one person to not agree with what I said. They will tweet and share my little 2 bits of comments, and woo, he's a Nazi. Yes, the algorithm, Wall Street is run by machine more now than ever. So we will see. We will see how things are. When it's all said and done, we'll see how things pan out. Yes, Bianchi. It's too early. To say SARS was worse. Well, bottom line is, does anybody trust China's number from the very start? So how can we say that the number that they give is even factual to compare it to SARS? Okay, so that's a whole. That's why when people are trying to use SARS as some kind of benchmark, it's not the same. Did China build a new hospital for SARS like they did last month? That was one of the biggest red flag for me, was when China was showing pictures and video on how they have all these construction vehicles and machine to build this 1,000+ hospital. I'm just like, really? It's not so bad, but out of nowhere you decide to build a 1,000+ bed hospital. Think about it. Think about the nonsense that people trying to justify. SARS? Did anybody build a new hospital for SARS? The answer is no. Not even close. Hello, Jack B. When it comes down to politics talk, it's a hot topic. That's why usually I discuss politics behind the scene, because if I voice my political views on my channel, it will get 10 times more views, 10 times more subs, and people will just love to argue and fight. And that's not why I want to be on YouTube. I'm just gonna say that, sure, politics, the election has a part. If we did not have COVID-19 and the election is at the forefront of the stock market, surely it will impact the stock market a little bit. Okay? It will. Guarantee it. But at the same time, it is not going to impact every company. Right now, we are facing a situation now where when the market sell off, it usually sell off with the junky company first, and then you start to see the good companies getting thrown out as well. The good old cliche, throw the baby out with the bath. That's what we are seeing now. I get all kind of alerts on my phone because Apple is down so many points, Amazon is down so many points, the S&P is down past 10%, blah 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 blah. Okay, it's right now the fire sales is across all sectors, all companies. Even if you have nothing to do with China, even if your business is purely in the US, it doesn't matter. Fire sales. So that's the situation we have right now. Yeah, when it comes down to back to this hobby, the thing that I think hurt a lot of people in this hobby is that when things are good, a lot of people greed override the common sense. Okay, when things are so good, when the market is booming. Hello, Jack B with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. You do not have to do that, but I appreciate it. Um, you know, it's very human when things are good. We go, we extend a wallet. We buy things we cannot afford. It's very common, okay? This is something that thankfully for me, over the past so many decades of being a trader, a stock trader, I learned, and I talk to my son and wife about this all the time. I take the good days and the bad days equally. I do not go, if I have an awesome year, if I have an awesome week, if I have an awesome month in the stock market where I make, 10% and make all kind of crazy money, I am not going to run out there and spend it all on a brand new Mercedes. Okay, that is asking for trouble. Okay, it's easy to overstand, to overexpand, to spend everything you have when things are so good. And that is a lesson that I try to teach people in life, is that, for many things in life, it's not that important. There's a lot of things that is saving money is the most important things. And I can't stress enough that it is saving money, saving for the rainy days, saving for whatever reason you want to save, is the best thing. It's the best thing you can do. Okay, comic book is fun, but comic book does not, it shouldn't supersede many things in life. And I try to preach that all the time, but you know how things are. People just can't help themselves because it is so addictive, right? Yep, who dat is here. Hello. AMC movie stock was at 17. Now it is $5. And trust me, I have friends that invest in IMAX. I'm like, you don't want to invest in the movie theater. IMAX make a lot of money in China. Nobody is going to see the movie. Okay. Oh my God. You see how Disney stock done? Have you seen Disney stock? 153 down to 120. What is it now? Let me look. Forget about Bob Iger retiring as a CEO. That's people want to blame that as a part. No, it's not. It's a closure of Disneyland in China, as well as not opening. Yeah, at this point, they are not going to open some movies in China. And China is the second biggest market in the world. So yeah, can you imagine if this issue continue and they can't open the next movie, the Black Widow movie in China? That could be $300 million wiped out, right? It ain't pretty. Okay, it ain't pretty. All right. So, and you know what happened? For those that are joining me late, I keep saying this: when things are bad, every company do the one thing that they do very well: laid off people, cut expenses. Okay, so don't wish for things to crash because it might be you that's gonna be crashing. Dennis Hayes said China is transitioning to IQ. Yes, I have followed IQ. I can't even say the word, but it is supposed to be the China version of Netflix. And one thing that I learned about investing anything version of US has not been a good thing for many stocks. Okay, like Baidu is supposed to be the American version of Google. Have you seen Baidu stock? Alibaba, that's the exception because it's supposed to be the Amazon of China. It has its moment, but still, I'm gonna stay away from anything that is a version of the US that is China for now. Not when the COVID-19 is not contained. J Hood is here. Hello. I looked at Marvel's total movie box office number. They made only one third of their money in the US. Correct. The global movie theater is more important now than ever. For those that grew up and watch movie like me back in the 80s and back in the 90s, there was no movie shown in China. There was no movies shown in South America. There was no US movie in Russia. Okay? It was US, Canada, and Europe. Go back and look at the data for big movie like Star Wars, the first Star Wars, or Indiana Jones, or E.T. There is no China, okay? Global box office hitting $1 billion number, crazy big numbers. A lot of it has to do with China. A big part of it has to do with China. Not everything, but the way the movie business has expanded to South America, to Asia, and to Eastern Europe have made everything so much bigger than what it used to be 20 years ago. Good time to buy Disney? Who that asked? Hell no. Hell no. That being said, I own exactly 100 shares of Disney. So I feel the pain. I am in pain. I got a little pain with Disney. It's funny because I bought I own Disney way lower. Okay, I own Disney for a long time below 100, and then it run to 146 last year at some point. So I sold it. I sold it at 146, and I sold it along the way. I own more share than 100. I own a bunch of share. I sold some at like 120, some at 130, some at 140, and everything gone by 146. And then I watch it go to 153, I think. The high, like a month ago, was like 153 or 2 weeks ago. And then it dropped down to 140. And I'm like, oh, bargain. So I bought 100 share, And guess what? It's like, is it like 120 right now? Something like that. So yeah, would I touch Disney right now? No. Not when Disney is not contained. It's gonna go lower. But if you have a 5-10 years horizon, buying Disney now at 120 seemed like a good idea, right? Hey, if I did not own any Disney, sure. Would I consider buying more Disney? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just saying that I'm not buying right now. One of the reasons that I have a chat right now at 10:49, because on a bad day like this, sometimes it's best not to watch the market. Okay? Watching the market go down, seeing all the people on TV going, the sky is falling, everybody's gloom and doom, it's not gonna, it doesn't help. Okay? Sometimes it's best to walk away and not watch the screen. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I decided to do because normally, on a good stock trading day, right now, 10 o'clock, prime trading times. But I have been sitting on my hands all week, watching the market come down 10%. I'm not touching anything. MIFLab Music said my wife has owned Disney since the mid 80s and keeps reinvesting the yearly dividend. Not a bad thing. Not, when it comes down to investing, there are many different strategy to invest, but the one strategy that works for everyone is having a long-term horizon. Okay. If you have a long-term horizon, by long-term, I say at least 5 years. If you pick a good company, okay, and sometimes you can pick a good company, but bad things happen like COVID-19 and your stock get beat up 10% or 20%. Guess what? If you have 5-year horizon, you likely will recoup the damage and make money. So the worst thing you can do is sell out, panicking, and not get back in. Okay, so Varangian Vigilante, money you do not need for your basic need is the best money for investing. Absolutely. Meeting your basic needs is always the primary things, and I have seen people struggle to pay and buy the Wednesday pickup. When I see that and hear that on videos of people like struggling or having problem to buy their pull list, to me, my advice to those collectors is stop. I'm sure people will hate me for that, but if you are living check to check and you can't cover your pull list, buying comic books is the last thing you should do. Last. Yes, I said it, last. It's not a popular thing to say. It might bring me some hate, but that's the fact, okay? Prioritize yourself, young people. Comic book is just that, comic books. You should not put it ahead of many essential things in life, okay? Let's get it real here. Um, Who Dat said that the US can still make major money from movies. I'm not saying it doesn't. Let's make it very clear, Who Dat. Nobody is saying it's not gonna make money. The question is less money, okay? Wall Street care about more money. The point is Disney gonna make money on Black Panther 2? They will, but without China, they will make less. That's why the market is going down, okay? That's the point. CGC time has, well, it's hard to say because right now we are in the midst of non-con season. So turnaround time in January, February tend to be much quicker. I will pay close attention to the submission going forward, just like I did in the recent video last week when I show you how 2019 was a booming year for submission. I will do a month, maybe I will do like a quarterly update, not a monthly report, but maybe by the end of March, I will do some kind of quarterly update to show how many submission has come into CGC in the first 3 months of the year. Maybe I will do that. This way we have some kind of benchmark to follow and see if the trend of submission slow down or not. Brandon Lau said, do you prefer Marvel or DC? I collect more Marvel, but I don't really, I collect more Marvel because I just happen to like the characters more. It has nothing to do that I like Marvel. If Wolverine was created by DC or if the mutant was created by DC, then I buy DC. So my buying more Marvels or own more Marvels has more to do with because I like the characters more. I've mentioned many times on my channel, I'm not a fan of Superman, never has been. So I buy DC, own a lot of DC, but it's mostly because of Neil Adams covers in the 70s and the 60s, and because of Batman. I do like Batman a lot. But outside of Batman, I don't really care for many other DC superheroes, to be honest. And because of that, that's why I don't buy a lot of DC. Not a fan of many DC characters. Myth Lab Music said, I am awaiting a purchase of Avenger 43 graded 5.0 and you paid $95 including shipping. Very nice. Good deal. Yeah, so for me, DC has always been Neil Adams covers. For horror, I bought a lot of Neil Adams as well as Bernie Wrightson, and then Batman. Whether it's Batman or Detective or Brave and the Bold, Neil Adams, give me some, okay? But when it comes down to other characters, yeah, I have Green Lantern, but because of Neil Adams. I have some, Justice League because Neil Adams. So trust me, as I go through my final 500 books, I can guarantee you a lot of the one that I'm keeping is gonna have to be Neil Adams or Bernie Wrightson. It's not gonna be anybody else. Okay, it's the final the final 500 is not gonna contain many DC that is not Neil Adams or Bernie Wrightson. If it is Silver Age or Bronze Age, sure, Golden Age, you're not gonna see Neil Adams stuff. So there will be some Golden Age Batman in my final 500. But as far as Bronze and late Silver, it's gonna be all because of Neil Adams, nothing else. I don't care. Well, there will be some keys. I will keep some keys because they are just that keys, like Batman 181, Batman 121. There will be some non-Neil Adams Silver Age DC that I will keep in the final 500, but for the most part, they're gonna be gone out of here. Double X asks, did I hear about AT&T Warner Brothers surrendering the publishing of DC? Yes, I did. I have heard, I have watched quite a bunch of videos in the past few days, and I don't blame them. It's about money. You run a business, you want to make money. And if the publishing, those things are losing money, then they had to do what the business have to do. It's not a charity. Okay, you got to understand. AT&T does not look at comic books like it's some kind of lost leaders. Okay, if they keep the IP and still make the movies or TV shows and make money, that's fine. The revenue from comic book is so small. Okay, I think comic book collector need to step back and understand. If you understand how much money are coming in through comic books compared to other ways, it is so small. It is so small. Even the small movie like Shazam, that movie was a small movie, but it make money. I can guarantee you, Shazam, a small for movie that is, made more profit for AT&T than all of the comic book that they sold last year. It's sad, but that's the reality. Brandon Lau asked, "What is the most valuable comic book that I own?" I'm assuming that you are new, so I'm gonna repeat this and not um, new for other people. It's not a secret. I do have an Action One, and I would not say what grade. I would not say how much I paid for it. Okay, just know that I bought it a long time ago. Half Price Crook said, "Love your interview with Nico. Thank you. It was a fun time." Nico is a very good speaker. Okay, he's much more eloquent than I am. So it's a treat to be interviewed by him and appear on his channel. Anyhow, I just look at the time. It is 11 o'clock. So yeah, 1 hour. Time for me to return to watch the carnage in the stock market. Yeah, it's gonna be ugly. I'm gonna turn on the CNBC and I'm gonna hear people predicting gloom and doom and all that nonsense. Yes, Brandon, thank you. Yes, I do own an Action One. Here's my one potential prediction on my final 500 that I'm gonna keep in my collection. Most likely, the Action One whenever I get to the final book, the last book, it will be the action one. And maybe at that point, who knows when, 2 years, 3 years down the road, when I finally finish that series, is when I will show that book for the first time on my channel. It's not a promise, but if there is a chance that I ever bring that book from the vault to this channel, is when I do the final book for the 500. I know that's going to be the last book. I already know. I don't know about the other 400 plus that still had to make room in my videos, but that is going to be the one that's going to have its showing someday. Who knows, 2-3 years from now, but it will make its appearance on my channel someday. Yeah. Anyhow, thank you for joining me. Until the next chat, who knows when. Hopefully, the next time I appear in a chat, it's going to be good news that COVID-19 has been contained and things has stabilized. Okay, I do not need or want to come back on YouTube on a live chat like this and talking about how bad the market is because COVID-19 has exploded wearing a mask. Okay, I don't need to do that. No need to see that. Okay, so trust me, I'm not wishing for the worst. I'm praying for the best. Later, folks. Have a good day. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.